welcome to what is now, I believe, round 4 of the Rookie Championship here at PLR. At what is going to be probably one of the smaller grids we've seen here, but it is still hopefully going to provide some very, very good racing. So far, it's still in qualifying. I apologise, we're a tiny bit later than I would usually plan to start streaming. Had a few technical issues in the background that I need to get sorted, which I do not think I've resolved. But I am currently, I could say, a complete rookie when it comes to commentary now. I'm using a completely new way of audio, and I'm using completely different setup. Might sound quite similar because I don't think I've fine-tuned everything greatly. I'm now on an XLR microphone for anyone who's nerdy about that. If it sounds awful, please say, because I'll happily change back to my other microphone, which I can happily switch by my Stream Deck. So if it does sound awful, that would be great to know. As well as that, I am also sick, so my voice also isn't helping with all of it, but those are my excuses out the window. Hopefully the drivers do not have the same excuses, because hopefully that doesn't apply to them, because it is a smaller grid, so hopefully it is going to be a bit more, well, should we say, less stressful for the stewards in terms of post-race stewarding. There is obviously no live stewarding in these events, it's all post-race stewarding submitted via a ticket. But going back on board now with it all, it seems a few of the liveries have sunk. Unfortunately, it does seem Greg Ellis hasn't sunk. I'm not sure what that is about. I have sunk the liveries, but I'm not doubting Greg Ellis, so it's probably something on my end. Currently in P1 with a 158.1, having quite a bit of experience at Silverstone recently. Greg obviously doing the 24 hours of Silverstone with PLR esports. I believe it was last weekend. So definitely probably quite fed up of Silverstone, which I don't blame him at all. Putting in a 158.1 going through course for potentially one of the final times, depending on how much fuel he has. Well, creeping closer and closer to the 57s, which I'll say I'm not sure that's really rookie times. I was expecting for rookies 2 minutes, maybe 59s. But it seems quite the opposite. It seems the most occurring time is probably a 58 here, which is a bit concerning. That says a lot about my pace. But that is probably one of the reasons I didn't race it still. I'm not sure how good my pace was around here. I think I was in the 58s, 57s. But looking at Dean, and I forgot who was out in the... I don't know if you call it a pro team, but the team that scored the highest, I believe they came P2 at the end. But their excuse was there was 2 real-life races in it, so one being a GT racer and one, believe, being a Formula racer and one being a go-kart racer, so that could be their excuse yet. But we do see now Greg Ellis once again going through Abbey up for a new personal best lap time, creeping closer to the 57s if you keep this lap time valid. Near 2 tenths, approaching, going into the farm's curve. Does seem to still got a... Well, it's actually maintaining quite a bit of lap time going through onto the Wellington straight now. Does seem though we've still got quite a far away. We've still obviously got Luffield and Woodcott to go through. Woodcott being a less severe corner than Luffield. Luffield being practically a section of 2 corners going through the first part of it. Now one of the more complex corners here at Silverstone. The very to little camber around it. And it's also very, very blind if you don't know when you're looking at it. But I'll be honest, I'm completely rusty when it comes to commentary. I haven't done anything since last Saturday. So hopefully I've still remembered some stuff. With 6 minutes left to go, we do see Greg Ellis going for a 57.8 there. As well as now we do see Slavenci. Oh, my days, man. Salavenci is how I think I'm going to say it in my racing number. So that's not very good, but I'm going to support him because he's in my racing number. Currently 4 tenths up, nearly 5 tenths up, going into Farm's curve. Now going onto the Wellington straight. 5.5 tenths, nearly 6 tenths up. He's going to look to try get a 59 here. He only needs 2 thousandths of a second to actually get a 59, but needs at least a 159.6 to improve into P9, which he is on board to do. In fact, he might be able to take Enrico Itri's spot of P8 as well if he's at it, going through Luffield now. Still maintaining that lap time. Not gaining a bunch, but not losing a bunch either. Now going into Woodcott for probably, we'll say, the penultimate time, depending on how much fuel he has, as I said earlier. 6 attempts now going across the line. He does go up to P9. He wasn't able to succeed into P8 as I was predicting him to do. Needs to find just under 800 of a second to actually achieve that goal of P8, but that's obviously all provisional at the time being. It does seem one of the other M4R teammates now in the BMW M4, number 271 of Brusco. A lot of drivers here I don't actually know, so it's good to see there's quite a few drivers that are quite new to PLR, so I'm going to apologise in advance, and I know it's probably already happened once. Looking at the names, we might be alright. Oh, actually, I'm not sure. But there is a running theme of me absolutely bottling names here, so expect that to potentially happen. It might not if we're lucky, or should I say if I'm lucky. But that's, again, beside the point. Some of you might not even know my voice, so that is just another thing to put a heads up on. So I'll be honest as well, I've got another excuse. My room is probably about 40 degrees right now, so I have to keep my fan on at all times. Greg Ellis said just letting what is going to be Christian going by. Now going through Woodcott. Probably one of the easier corners on Silverstone, going across the start-finish line now isn't going to improve. He lost a lot of his time there on the exit of Woodcott. In fact, now it's Slavenci as well in the 444. M4R. It seems to be quite a dominant grid here of M4R. Currently in P9, but looking to actually improve to potentially even take away P2 from Orlando. Currently nearly a second up going into the final part of Luffield. He does reach up to a second up in his pits best Delta. We do see there's going to be an Aston Martin there. Is he going to get in the way? Doesn't seem so. He is going to lose a tap there on the exit there going into Woodcott. But he does go across the line. How much is he going to improve? He's going to go up into P3 there with 158.6. Oh, barely between now P2 and 3. It does seem now, it was earlier, I'm not sure where he's gone actually. It's Dabrowski. I saw earlier in, I believe it was either qualifying or free practice, how close I think the top 3 were separated just by under a tenth. So it just shows you how competitive the grid still is and how similar pace it is, but it does seem it is currently starting to be a tiny bit more isolated with Greg Ellis's 157.8. Ricardo Colombano in the E3 Racing, currently in P12, a driver we have seen in the World Tour Season 2. I'm not sure if he's in Season 1, he might have been. Currently 2 attempts up, going on to Wellington Straight. Does seem he's still going to be able to stay with it, going into Luffield. I'm not sure at the moment. It does seem it keeps fluctuating quite a high rate, but it does go through the final part of Luffield and still actually continues to maintain lap time. So he could actually be on to potentially take P10 here if he can continue the current progressive time he's doing, but he isn't going to be able to do that. He sits himself into P11 provisionally with a 159.9. Seems quite a few people in the pit so far, maybe a third of the grid or so in the pits with only 2 minutes left to go, so they will probably be in their final order unless we do see some of the drivers who are improving, who are out on track, see some sort of a comeback. But at the moment it does seem to be quite settled in terms of everything. No, that was a bad time to go on Fox's car there, as well as now the Broski driver again we do know from the World Tour, carrying now in the Mustang. We haven't seen many Mustangs here. Actually, in fact, it's quite rare to see one at PLR because Season 2 didn't contain a single Mustang, mainly because of the reason it was halfway through season. The release of this absolutely beautiful car was, I would love to see though, the Ford's, it's not the Ford GT, it's the, yeah, it is the Ford GT. I'm going absolutely insane here, but I was watching old Le Mans stuff and I just saw the old Ford GT. And I completely forgot about the car until then, but obviously that is a GTE, so that is something completely different car class, but I'd like to see some sort of redemption of a GT, but we do have the Mustang, so we might not see that. There's Ricardo Colombo now going through the Farms curve. 4 attempts up as it stands, going through the hairpin, now going on to Wellington Straight. My days. Is still going to be improving that onto Wellington Straight, but it's not going to be too much. He is now 2 seconds off the pace of Greg Ellis. as it stands, but he is looking to decrease that time now. With potentially his final lap, he might be lucky of getting one more. If he keeps making mistakes like that going into Luffield, he will not have a second chance here, but it does seem still going to be 4 attempts up going on to the exit of Woodcock. Now he does come through the final right-hander, which I believe doesn't have a name, and now goes across, and he is going to go up to P10 there. Actually, no, that is Woodcock. Sorry, I'm getting completely confused here. There's now Orlando as well in the M4R. There are so many M4R cars. I'm not sure how many there are, but there is definitely some sort of dominance by them here now in the McLaren 1020S. Lovely looking car. I'll be honest, I'm not sure about the purple, but obviously that's personal preference. But it's still a lovely looking livery. Now going on to Hamilton Straight, coming in P2, trying to chip away on Greg Ellis's time. Now 5.5 tenths more or less he needs to try and gain to get P1 away, but he only has this 1 lap left to go. He currently has 2.5 tenths up in his personal best lap time going through Farmer's Curve. Now we do just see 1 sector for him to improve, and most of that being a straight Wellington Straight. It is 4 tenths up now, so it's actually going to be quite close between the two. Orlando now being able to actually sacrificing quite a bit of his lap time on exit there. Can he gain it back though, going through Luffield for the final time? The stands we do see Dabrowski though actually improving, taking away Orlando's position. It's going to be very momentarily if we do see Orlando keeping up this rate of improvement, but it's not going to be enough to take away Greg Ellis's time as it stands, unless he can do something going into Luffield, which is going to be quite doubtful. Does go for the exit, does sacrifice a lot of time here. In fact, we might see Dabrowski taking away P2, but is it going to be enough of an improvement to retake P2? No, it is not. In fact, it didn't even seem to be a valid lap time there from the driver of the M4R car, and that is going to be the end of qualifying. There's only one other driver who is improving yet in the other Bentley of the Texaco livery. Absolutely lovely livery that. Going into now the Wellington Straight, seem to have probably an extra lap compared to the rest of the grid that. He now goes through Wellington Straight. 700 for the second up. We do see actually Greg Ellis is improving it as well, so I'm assuming he has 1 more lap. It doesn't seem he's going to be able to improve from his lap time, but it doesn't really matter either because he's on pole position. Either way here, so we do see actually Cook is improving 3 tenths going through Luffield. Well, yeah, no, going on to Woodcock now. I keep getting confused about those two corner complexes. So we do see him actually leap up into P3. They're taking Orlando's position. And that is going to be the end of qualifying there. Every driver saying a time. Apart from 2 there, it does seem one of the Audis and then Hutton in the Lamborghinis. Both drivers not saying any sort of times. We go on and wait till the server takes over to the race. Obviously, it's now a race like every race year. It doesn't seem to be raining, I believe. There hasn't been rain for the entire season, which again is probably a blessing for the AMs, but hopefully it's going to still make some interesting racing. 21 cars on the grid here tonight. With an hour at Silverstone, hopefully it's going to be some good racing. We do just see it's a little over. Yes, this has been one of the more more slower tickets over, I believe, but it does seem now we had a bit of an issue. We're quite lucky actually in terms of service. There was a bit of an outage, both Kunos and Steam-wise earlier. I believe it was about 3 hours ago. Which definitely held a bit of a risk against this series, but it does seem it was all working out in the end. Do you see still not taken over yet? So I'm assuming someone didn't do their final time. That's why we're doing the entire of the max wait time. Actually, I'm not sure what's happening yet. But hopefully it gets resolved soon. Currently in P1's Greg Ellis was the Dabrowski in P2 and the Ford Mustang, and it's going to be, I believe, David Crook. David Cook, sorry, not Crook, I keep getting Ben and David mixed up. In the Bentley number 38. For anyone who's nerdy about that, if it sounds awful, please say happily change back to my happily. Sure. A bit of a risk against this series. Yeah, I did just hear that. That's only just. Oh, I know exactly what that is. Sorry, I was experimenting earlier. That's my fault. So yeah, echo's gone. I had both microphones on at the same time. Hopefully that's all resolved now. But we do still wait for it to tick over. Just finished waiting for the races. Greg Ellis says. So that is just going to be something that we have to wait for. Hopefully it's nothing server issues. I believe it's just all hopefully scheduled. It does give the drivers a ton of a break before we go into the race. Yeah, I thought so. I had both channels going on the XLR, so it kind of confused me. But luckily, that's all gone. Evening, mate. I was just sorting out the audio because it seemed to be an echo. Hopefully the echo's fully gone now because it seems I still had a warning that I was still getting echo. So hopefully that's all gone. But hope you're well, Greg. I believe it's Greg. That's the other account. We do go on to race conditions yet. Tonight it does seem to be a fully dry server, which is expected. And I believe it's definitely going to make it hopefully a bit more of a closer race because people don't know how to drive. If I'm being honest, a lot of people don't know how to drive in wet. I'm not accusing anyone, but I've just seen some interesting standards when it comes to racing in the wet for. Okay, that's good to see. It's on my days. I also apologize because I'm also sick. But we are going to go straight on to a grid walk here tonight as we do see Greg Ellis in pole position. You can't see this. There we go. As well as Dabrowski and Cook rounding out the top three, as well as Orlando and Tom Week in the 69 Ferrari 296, as well as Slavenci and Fox taking out the top seven, as well as then Miglioli. Is it Miglioli? Oh, find out. Enrico Itri and then Ricardo Colombo taking out the fifth row, as well as Brusco and DiMartino. That's a lovely name. In P12, knocking out the sixth row, as well as Mike Waller in the Aston Martin, and then James Terry as well in the other Aston Martin, taking P14 as well as Max RS. We can see on the left in the 17 BMW M4, as well as Deary, and then Estevanez, or is it Estevez? I think it's Estevez, in P18, as well as Grissel, and then also we have the Audi R8, as well as Hussons there in P21. I'll be honest, I wasn't going to say it, but now you said it, that is a brilliant question, Craig. Why are you in AMS? I'll be honest, the pace difference is a bit immense, but whatever you got to do to keep your ego, whatever to float your boat. Hopefully now everything goes well with it though, as I can't actually see. That's fine. 1 second. There we go. I just had to reset my audio inputs. Again, I've already said this earlier, but I'm on a new microphone, so I feel like a bit of a rookie on it. But hopefully that will change. Only 8 seconds to go. We do see now the grid will start doing the formation lap. This is one of the longest formation laps you will see on ACC, well, apart from the Norwich for Life, if you decide to do the full loop, which is definitely a bit of a task to say the least, but we do see now they are rolling. So I've also just realised one thing. I just realised absolutely no audio. Whoops. There we go. Now you can hear game audio. Oh my days, it's been a long day. This is going to be an interesting race to commentate on, to say the least. Ah, sweet. I'm just having to hope I don't get any feedback from my other microphone because they're both on. But hopefully that won't happen during the race either. Greg Ellis taking P1 now on board with him. It is actually looking at the times in terms of qualifying now, as I can see that on my little neat race control. It does seem, if you zoom in to two cars midfield, they are very close with each other. So hopefully it does give some sort of competitivity with it. We do have a mandatory pit stop here for tonight. As usual with any race format, it does make it a bit more interesting, and we have seen in the past as well, this one being one of the, or you could say one of the easier pit lanes, unless someone takes on the pit board, because the line does seem to be quite transparent in a way, where you can't really see it. But hopefully that doesn't happen here tonight, where we see many penalties. Another penalty I saw quite a bit during Silverstone was definitely track cut penalties. It is quite easy, especially going on to here now. Stowe being a corner that you can easily go wide on, and it's quite tolerable. They're quite, yeah, they can tolerate quite a bit of, I guess, cornering abuse. But if you take too much, you will get a track cut, and it's kind of difficult to. Same with this corner here, going through the chicane before Hamilton Straight. It's just any corner which doesn't have a very, very aggressive sausage curb, like we just saw there going on to Hamilton Straight, will just be a bit of a hazard for the drivers here for tonight, which hopefully we don't see that often, but we do usually see penalties, and it's just something that happens in any league and even real life, believe it or not. So you do see, I'm not sure what happened there, but it has changed a bit. It's the Broski, yeah, that's right actually now. I'm not sure what happened there, it just seems a few cars went out of order. As we do wait as we come on into the final sector in the next few corners or so, and then we will be going racing for an hour at midday in game time. Do you see now the cars formulating side by side, getting ready to go green here? Greg Ellis in P1, followed then by Dabrowski in P2. And it's going to be David Cook as well as then Orlando running out the top four there. Running out the top two rows. As well as that, being able to go with it. And hopefully no one makes any sort of significant mistakes that can affect the entire of the grid. Now getting close to the line here. Ready to go green here for round 4 at Silverstone for the PLR rookies. I guess Rookie Thursday Championship, I guess you could call it. I usually wouldn't be commentating this because I usually have a contract I'm obliged to, I guess you could say. There has been some exceptions here for tonight, and I will be off for next round here. As we can see now, Greg gets already getting the inside line going into Corpse, manages to sustain his plate stairs. We do see Dabrowski doing the same thing, as well as Cook now under a bit of pressure there from Orlando for P3 here going into Maggots or Beckett's, one of the more difficult corners to go side by side in, but does manage to keep the position there as well, which we can see Martina going side by side through Maggots or Beckett's, losing the position there to what is going to be Waller. Waller having quite a significant start for himself there, going up into P12. As well as that, going further down, it does seem Terry also under a bit of pressure to losing his position as we go on board with him as it is. It's nearly going to go side by side here between the two drivers of himself and Martini in the M4R. BMW M4, but they do still stay in the same position. It's still several for the time being, as we do see going through Stowe there, the BMW M4 in the background, taking quite a bit of speed through the corner, but doesn't make any sort of significant advantage gain there. But does seem now James Terry still being able to stick in the same positions. We do see Greg Ellis already starting to create a bit of a gap for himself now, going through Abbey for the first time. 5/10 gap. Will it stay like that? Greg Ellis being quite consistent around here, as well as the Broski trying to catch up without trying to lose the place to David Cook behind him in the other Bentley. Bentley seeming to be quite good here for tonight. If it's more of a challenge for the drivers, that is another reason, or if there is some implemented boppy, as we do see now James Terry goes side by side here with Martino into Farmer's Curve. It does seem he's able to keep it by braking a tiny bit later. Now going into the sharpest angled corner on the entire track, and they both still make it out civil and alive. That James Terry is still being able to keep his place of P13. Martino now losing quite a bit of time. Can see now the BMW M4 of Max RS trying to look all over the inside there, going through Luffield, as well as we can see the Audi R8 behind him. That's the Evo 2 version going through Luffield all over the rear of Max RS. Isn't going to be able to get anywhere near him just yet, but he does actually make a bit of a comeback there, going through the exit of Luffield, going onto Woodcott. He is able to get the position done. We do see some sort of retaliation here from Max RS going into Corpse, but it's not going to be too significant because he doesn't want to make any sort of first race mistakes here. As we haven't actually seen a single, I'm actually not going to jinx it, so I'm not going to say it, but I was going to say we haven't seen a single sort of catastrophic mistake just yet, but that is probably something to come if everyone still as rowdy as they currently are. 3 minutes into the race now, going on to lap 2. Do you see now Orlando losing a bit of time here too, actually. David Cook actually gaining a position, it seems, to Orlando previously, as well as we can see Tom Week in the horizon. You can see in the mirrors as well of Orlando. He does break a tiny bit later. There's going to be a tiny bit of contact there, and it's actually going to cause him to spin, but he's able to gain control of his car before he is fully 180 degrees around, but he is going to lose a significant amount of places there. It does seem he ends up in P8, so it wasn't too catastrophic now, and that's another corner you need to be careful of. Going wide, there is going to be a track cut. If those drivers just gained a track cut because of what they just did, is a different question, as well as going further down. You can see Vladimir in the Audi R8 once again trying to put pressure on the M4R of the BMW M4. It does look to almost go for a bit of a lunge move there, going into Farmer's Curve. Having the inside line is going to be crucial for these two corners being so sharply angled. Does try to do some sort of formulated switchback, which does work now as they go side by side, and Vladimir having such a good run that does seem to get past with ease with the top speed of that Audi, hopefully being a tiny bit better than BMW. But we will have to see going into Luffield. It doesn't seem they make any sort of gain on Vladimir that, as well as going further. We can see there's going to be the BMW of Max RS just going a tiny bit wide into Luffield, but nothing too mental going on there, as well as going back up on board. It seems to be a tiny bit of a train still going on here, and it is going to be Ricardo Colombo currently in P11, putting a bit of pressure on Brusco in the 271 BMW M4. I believe it's the M4R. Yes, it is the M4R, I think so. As well as we can see Mike Waller behind it in the Aston Martin VA AMR going into Magenta Beckett's. I must say that the Aston Martin did look a lot more steady than Colombo's Ferrari 296 going through Magenta Beckett's there. If that's a setup adjustment, because that was James Terry in the background, and that looked a lot more sketchy, so I'm going to assume it's setup adjustments between the two drivers, because it did look a tiny bit more balanced. As we can see, this could be Enrico Itchy making the move there, 4P9 on Brusco. As we do see, it's almost going to be a tiny bit ruddy now. It's going to be a sandwich of the M4R cars. We do see now Enrico Itchy trying to break that chain as he tries to go for the inside line, going through the chicane. He is able to go side by side, but now we do see it is going to be Miglioli getting the inside line for the next two, actually 3 corner complexes here. So Enrico Itchy is not going to have any luck. He's going to try use the DRS. Sorry, I've been commentating on F1 way too much recently. The slipstream to gain an advantage, but at the moment it isn't going to work for him just yet, and he is just going to have to tuck himself behind. As we can also see, it's going to be a change of position. There's going to be Colombo in the other E3 racing car, now gaining time on his teammate of Enrico Itchy. Enrico seeming to have a tiny bit of difficulty trying to get past his M4R car, and we do see Fungus 303, what a name, in chat saying hello PLR friends, good to see you mate, hopefully you're well on this fine Thursday evening. as we go into summer. Yeah, it's DRS, I don't usually say that. I'm very, very tired and I've done a lot of F1 preparation work for F1 24. So I've done quite a bit for it. As well as that, Martino now going side by side here with James Terry into Woodcott. He isn't going to be able to keep with it into the exit of Luffield, going into Woodcott now. But Martino in P15. But we do see James Terry getting that position done pretty swiftly there, to the point where he's already started to create a ton of a gap for himself. And there is going to be no seal of retaliation there from the BMW, as well as Vladimir actually losing the position there to what is going to be, I believe that's the M4R of Brusco. As we do see, that's going to be an E3 car stopped on the road there. I'm not sure who that is. Yeah, actually, that seemed to be, I believe that's going to be the Ferrari of, yeah, Colombo. Just stopping there as we get a replay of what happened going through. It does seem, yeah, that bump has actually affected the car before going into Magda Beckett. I assume he went on the inside line going through Maggots and used a lot of the curb. And the Ferrari, being quite a fragile car, just absolutely sent it. As well as there is a bump going into Stowe, I found out a few days ago. I'm not sure if it's a real bump in real life or if it's just an ACC bug. But it just sends the car flying. Even with the gravel trap, you will expect damage, to say the least. Is now Vladimir going up into P11, so he is definitely making some sort of comeback here. So now he's trying to look to aim for the top 10 here, as we can see Brusco trying to defend, but he's actually not defending at the same time. So he just left the door wide open going into Farmer's Curve. If he predicted that he wasn't going to go for that move, is an optimistic statement, to say the least, but does now seem going into the Wellington Straight. He's going to have the overspeed now on the BMW M4, plus the LDR rate being the higher top end speed car, and in acceleration he might be able to get past quite quickly, but doesn't seem he was able to do so just yet, so he's just going to have to stay back behind him. Again, not going to be able to make any more progress on that, as well as now Ricardo Colombo going side by side here with Max RS for position, trying to make these positions back that he lost going into Magda Beckett's, but he does make one of them up, so it's all step-by-step counts now. 51 minutes left to go, but Max RS trying to go for the inside line, going into Corpse. It does nearly work there between the two. Ricardo Colombo, though, being in the Ferrari 296, has a higher downforce advantage than Max RS, and was able to keep the position going through Corpse, and now he has P14 of Martino in his sight to try and gain all of these positions back that he originally lost last lap. Going 10 minutes in, we do see now Michael Walder going side by side with the teammate of Colombo, and it's going to be Enrico Itri this time. Now going side by side going into Stowe. It does seem Waller just let him go and almost let the other two cars go as well. Have to try and defend to keep that, as we do see Brusco looking rather violent to keep that, and now because of that is going to cause the two cars of Brusco and Vladimir to both start fighting with each other, as we can see now Brusco almost losing the position going into the final chicane going on to Hamilton Straight here, as we do see he's able to get by here, Vladimir, but for how long will he be able to do so? As it stands, he has been able to do it. It does seem Vladimir, I'll be honest, is on fire so far in the Audi R8. I believe he didn't qualify, so I'm assuming there is something gone wrong there, as James Terry going on the grass there, going into the Farmer's Curve there, so hopefully he hasn't lost too much time there, but he has lost the position to, I believe that's going to be Ricardo Colombo. That is going to be Ricardo Colombo, who's up to P14 already after his incident. And we are going to be on board with Vladimir once again as he tries to go side by side going into Luffield. He looks for it, but isn't going to be able to get the move done there, as now Waller now under a lot of danger and pressure to keep his position at P9. But for 49 minutes and one pit stop, the likelihood that he's going to be able to keep these cars behind him is going to be very unlikely, unless he can pull some sort of pace out of his hat. But as it stands, Vladimir is all over the rear of him, and it might not be for much longer. Still not gaining any. Well, Waller, though, to be fair to him, does have quite a good defensive strategy, but yeah, once again, how long can that last for? You can't do it for the rest of the race. Unfortunately, it's just not going to work. It's practically impossible, unless obviously there's mistakes and all of that stuff. But yeah, I also fully agree with you, Fungus. There's some really good racing for a rookie race and for quite a smaller grid. So hopefully that is going to be one of the factors on why there's not been so many incidents, because there is obviously less chaos around us now. Vladimir just breaking a bit later going into Stowe than Mike Waller, but still not going to be able to get by. There's now that Aston Martin looking to, oh my days, having a bit of an ABS issue there, going into the first of the two chicanes. And it does seem still going to go side by side. He's going to have the inside line going into this corner, and as well as that is Abbey, but it doesn't seem that's going to happen. There's now obviously the Audi having quite a high downforce setup. Was able to do it, so we can see James Terry spinning there, but was able to keep it. Has he kept it fully though? Yes, he has. Unfortunately, losing quite a few positions. That's his second mistake in 2 corners or 2 laps. So I'm not sure what's happened there, as we can also see the 2 M4R cars scrapping for position. But now Miglioli losing another position. It's also going to be now Martino going up into P12, as well as Miglioli going down into P13. But it's not over yet, as we can actually see that's going to be Ricardo Colombo still looking for a fight for P13 here. Going into now the Hangar Straight, going into, wait, no, this is Wellington Straight, sorry. Going into Luffield. It makes a bit of a mistake, unfortunately misjudging his braking. It's just going to leave the door open for Ricardo to get the move done quickly and efficiently, and he goes up into P13, and Martino goes down to P14. As well as that, we are starting to lose barrels, which isn't great for us and great for my voice, but that is all okay for now, as Anthony Fox in the Porsche Motorsport. As we can see, who was that? Is that the Ferrari? Yes, it was. That's the Ferrari of Salavenci, just going very, very wide almost into Michael Zebekis. Yeah, made the same mistake as actually, sorry, I keep just agreeing and disagreeing with myself, but makes the same mistake as what we did see Ricardo Colombo do. But it does seem his Ferrari acted very, very differently to the curb that he went over. Instead of going into the wall, he did get a bit lucky, but I think he needs to be really risky. Well, not very risky. He needs to be very careful doing stuff like that, because that can lead to a disqualification quite quickly. Cutting such a significant corner like the Maggots and Beckett's complex. As well as that, we can see now Brusco and P11 again making his moves now, as well onto Mike Waller. Vladimir was able to do it a few laps ago. Can Brusco do the same thing? As well as that, we can see Ricardo Colombo once again trying to get past Miglioli, as it is going to be Miglioli going very, very wide into Abbey. Did he even turn there as we go on board with him? I'm actually I'm going to go on board with him and see his inputs, because I'm assuming he didn't turn, and I believe he might have just he didn't turn. So I'm assuming he got distracted in his mirrors of obviously who was behind him originally, which was going to be, I think it was, yeah, I believe it was his teammate of Martino. But because of that very, very odd mistake, he has lost a significant amount of positions there. P16, as we can see James Terry in front of him, currently in P15. Well as that, hopefully we do see Mike Waller try to get that position on Brusco redone. Unfortunately, it does seem in the final few corners of this lap we did see him lose the position of P10, but now going through Corps, it does seem a gap is starting to be created by Brusco. Again, going further down as well, as we do hit the first quarter of this race achieved. It's now going to be James Terry all over the rear of Max RS for this position. He did make that mistake earlier. That is why he has dropped a few positions since the last races, not the last race, into the last few laps now. Going on to lap 7. This is still going to be a very, very early stages of this races. We haven't seen the pit stops play, and that's when we will start seeing more battles starting to occur, as we do see Max RS losing the position to James Terry quite easily there. There was no sort of a fight pick there by Max RS, if that is a strategic option. We'll have to see. Obviously, most of these drivers won't be going for tyres, if I'm correct. I'm not sure what the mandatory pit stop is, so I can actually look at that now before I start spreading misinformation, as Greg did send it to me earlier. Doesn't say, but we're going to assume it's fuel. If anyone knows, that would be great. But if not, doesn't matter. We can just hopefully just keep with it. Starts to settle down a tiny bit. We do actually still see Vladimir on fire. Definitely going to be a driver of the day at this rate. Currently putting a bit of pressure on Enrico Itri, who has also been on fire during this race. The two drivers, the E3 Racing and the Crew Racing liveries slash teams coming together to battle with each other. It does seem going through Beckett now. None of these drivers make any sort of significant improvement towards one another, but we do see now this is where we will see Vladimir's car shine, with the slipstream going on to Hangar Straight. As it stands, he is going to try to go for the inside line going into Stowe, but it isn't going to work just yet. It might work on exit, but it does seem Enrico Itri still being able to maintain that position of P8, but now once again a tiny bit of a juke move there from Vladimir to try and gain this position as quickly as he can. Wasn't able to do it, but still isn't any sort of rush to get this position done, because there is a 6-second gap in front of him between him and David Cook, and there's also a 4-second gap between him and P10 at Brusco. So there is quite a big breathing space for these two drivers, so they can battle as much as they want. They are kind of in no man's land, but they don't want to lose too much time to the field ahead for progress reasons, obviously. So that's how we go on board for Orlando, a driver who was very unlucky in qualifying, to say the least. Can he make it up in the race? Currently in P5. Lost a position since the start of qualifying, and it does seem now he is once again trying to battle with Anthony Fox for this position back in the Porsche Motorsports Porsche 992 GT3 RS, I believe it's called. I'm not sure if it's RS, but I know the rest of it is that. 20 minutes into the race now, still we do see Orlando not being able to get past Anthony Fox. Obviously this is something that's going to come with time, as we do see that. I believe that was Dabrowski going a tiny bit wide going into Beckett's. That luckily was able to survive. That happened with, it does seem Orlando makes a mistake though, as I wondered what happened with him there going into Maggots. Does he do the same issue? He does. He's going to be a victim once again. No, he's not going to be a victim. I'm not sure what really happened there. He just seems to have I guess understeered and just taken a lot of the grass route of Beckett, and again needs to be very, very careful of that. Can be quite an easy way out of this race early of a disqualification, as well as now we do see David Cook, sorry, not Crook, now going side by side with Slavenci in the M4R racing team for R296. David Cook actually losing a few positions, not sure why. Doesn't seem he has any sort of damage. I'm assuming it's just span at some location, but luckily he still has plenty of time to try and gain these positions back. once again, with that in mind, actually, as I said earlier, well, now 38 minutes left to go. 22 minutes in. Ricardo Columbus still being one of the only battles on track between him and Mike Waller. Losing that position earlier, Mike Waller does seem to gain a position earlier in the Aston Martin VAAMR. We do see some of the first pit stops actually starting to happen. Vladimir going into the pits, we'll start seeing him doing some Vladimir stuff, to say the least. Being very, very quick, it seems, as well as Max RS and Court, a driver we haven't seen practically at all during the entire of today in the number 305 Corporate Racing livery. Might be a bit of a strategy from him. Does seem he is two laps down though, unfortunately. So I'm not sure how much he can still do with 37 minutes left to go. Hutton seeming to have also retired from the race early, to say the least. But that is all sort of issues aside now. I'm not sure what happened for the two drivers to be so far behind / DNF'd. But unfortunately we didn't get that on stream, and I can't go back centuries, unfortunately. It does seem though, actually now, Miglioli putting a bit of pressure on James Terry for position, but they both going to the pit, so this is all down to see whose pit stop is going to be quicker, and if James Terry makes a mistake, which will put a bit of pressure on him. Can he actually make this move? He's going to make the move into the pit. That is the best move I've ever seen. It's allowed, because obviously it did seem James Terry put the pit limiter on too early, but Miglioli makes the move in the pits. We're going to get a replay of what just happened there. It does seem going through the pits. Yeah, James Terry just enabling the pit limiter very, very quickly. And very, very too soon, to say the least. And it's going to be Miglioli making the position up into the pit lane. Definitely not, that's a first for me. But that definitely was very, very well executed. And definitely could have went wrong if, obviously, James Terry didn't coordinate with that. But David Cook now as well in the Texaco Cosworth Bentley Continental, currently in P7, looking to get this move done on Slavenci for P6. Technically, it's allowed that what we saw, because we've seen this in real life as well, I believe, in Formula 1. I think it was it Mark Webber and Lewis Hamilton? I might be wrong on that, but it was before I was born, so that's my excuse. But that was what it was. But that's actually going to be, oh no, all of that work that Miglioli did, unfortunately, has been washed straight away down with a stop-go 30-second penalty. Even with getting that move done, he is going to receive quite a hefty QNOS penalty, to say the least, and almost lost the car there. And he makes contact, unfortunately, with James Terry, and that's all just gone absolutely down the seat. Well, down. absolutely down. Oh my days, my sentences are not sentencing. Apologies about that. And that's going to be James Terry and Midjolly both making contact, and they're both going to sustain quite a bit of damage from that. It's all gone tumbling down for the both of them. And luckily James Terry did wait for him, but I believe there isn't really worth waiting, if I'm being honest. I respect the sportsman-like behaviour from him, but with him having to stop go fee, you're behind him either way. But yeah, again, Andres, you're completely right. It's something you don't see often. It was nearly perfectly executed if he wasn't given that stop-go 30 penalty, as he does go on the grass a tiny bit, which braking on the grass is going to unfortunately result in that gravel trap serving its purpose, being able to, well, just slow that car down. And I believe he is now, yeah, going to return to garage, and he has, unfortunately, just rage quit that. That is unfortunate for him. It was almost going too perfect, I guess you could say, with an overtake like that in the pit. But unfortunately, the execution wasn't on point. But we do now see Bresco as well, currently in P8 in the BMW M4, as well as Enrico Itri, who's still under pressure from the two of Enrico. Well, Enrico, yeah, obviously being under pressure still from Bresco, and we did see him under pressure from Mike Walder, who has seemed to have fallen off in terms of pace slightly. So we do see that. What was Bresco doing there? Swerving quite a bit, just goes on to the sausage cube as well. That could have also been quite a silly mistake, to say the least, but these two still being the only battle on track with 32 minutes left to go. Hopefully the pit stops will incorporate some sort of battles, hopefully later on. But still, you'll have to find out as well. Now Enrico Itchy currently P7, Bresco in P8. The two drivers being in completely different cars, one being a front engine, one being a rear/mid engines. We do see Enrico Itchy going into the pits either way, so that is not going to matter, as now Bresco gets promoted in P2 P7 momentarily, as we do see P2 all the way to P9 then roughly all going into the pits now to serve their mandatory pit stop. We do see this is the majority of the grids going in, and this is what you'll usually see at the halfway point of the race, people doing their pit stops as what you'd usually see. It's a very, very common pit stop strategy, to say the least, and it does work usually, splitting the fuel 50-50, so you're not obviously carrying the extra weight early in compared to everyone who's probably using a lower fuel advancement method. Our leader of Greg Ellis coming into the pits now, as we do see Orlando once again appearing to try and attempt to get his position back from Anthony Fox. Did try to attempt it earlier, but now these have both pitted for their mandatory pit stop, so it's now just a fight to the end. It's 27 minutes to see who will come up practically victorious in this. And obviously we do see as well that it's going to be Tom Week is just creeping in the background as well, trying to hope these two drivers make some mistakes so he can get 2 freebies. But usually it's not as simple as that, but we'll never know. We have seen some unfortunate events in this race tonight either way, so it could still end in the same issue just as easily. But now it does seem it is still being able to maintain the same gap, but practically a lap now. It's now been a lap, sorry. It's now been around 5/10 for since last lap when I first spotted it, but now going through Megan Beckett, it does seem Orlando was a bit more confident there and did gain about 2/10 through it, and now this is where he is potentially going to shine. The 992 is a lot better than Hit's sister of the 911 in terms of top end speed, but it is still one of the weaker cars in terms of top end speed. But the McLaren as well still being again a weaker top end speed car, with it being a very aero reliant car. Just by the shape of it you can see how aero reliant it is compared to cars that we can see like the BMW M4 for example, which is very boxy but is very much for top end speed, but still definitely has enough aero to carry her out. As we can see now going into what is going to be Stowe once again. Vladimir trying to gain his positions back, currently in P11, all over the rear of Mike Waller, now into the chicane. Hopefully he can get this move done as quickly as he can for his benefit, but now it is still going to be side by side. Mike Waller still being able to break a tiny bit later to keep his position, trying to glue the inside line. It's not going to work though. Vladimir trying to find the inside line. He has been able to successfully do it. Now it's going to be both of them going wide, and that's definitely going to be a track up for Mike Waller. They're taking out the cone with him now, as we can actually see they are both encountering now lap traffic, which is going to play a huge factor for both of these drivers getting this position done, as we do see Vladimir starting to create a gap once again to Mike Waller after he got the position done going into Abbey. Once again, can we see Mike Waller make any sort of retaliations? It does seem he breaks a tiny bit later going into the final corner before sector 3. He isn't going to be able to do so. Can we see him try to make any sort of gains in slipstream? I'm not too sure. It doesn't seem he's going to be able to. So we will keep an eye out with that as we do now go into Luffield. He isn't going to gain any time under slipstream gain there as he tries to make some sort of lunge there going into Luffield, but we'd see Vladimir trying to put him off a tiny bit, which he did successfully do, and it is going to cause them both to stay in the same position. As we do see Orlando gained quite a bit of time going through Michael Beckett once again, but lost it on exit there, as we could see him unfortunately going onto the grass there, but was able to save the car, as well as Tom Week catching up as well. As we do see that's going to be yellow flag, 24 minutes left to go. Now Tom Week still in sight, still quite far away, 1.2 seconds back. Is now we do see Orlando still fighting with Anthony Fox going on to the final half of the race. Gonna try and break it a tiny bit later. Obviously he still has a lot of time here, but he also doesn't want to lose too much time to the point where Tom Week is also going to be a challenge for him. Obviously being in the middle of the pack is probably the most pressurized point, but also being the leader is probably the most pressurized point, because you can't win. Well, you can win. Technically you can win stuff, but you can't get into positions, but you can certainly lose positions just as easily. As now we can see going side by side going into the farmer's curve, but it's not going to work for him just yet. Orlando once again trying to go for the inside line, but it was going to be blocked off before he can even think about it. Anthony Fox trying to do anything he can defend to try and keep his position at P3. Shit. Does seem he makes a mistake there. Is that going to be him going into the wall? Yes, it is. That is the most unexpected way. I've never seen that happen, going onto the exit there of the curve before going onto it. It does seem the loop just screws him over here. So now he just gets on the grass for a tiny bit too long there and just goes straight into the wall at catastrophic speeds there. And we can see he's able to go back out on P6 there. In fact, he seems to have got away with the damage there. The front of his car seems reasonably untouched, but we can see the left side is definitely taking the toll. So he's definitely went in at the left side, but can he make these positions back with now 22 minutes left to go? P5 being Salavenci in the 44296. Definitely being, even for a small grid, it has been quite interesting to say the least. We have seen some very, very peculiar crashes, but we've also seen some very, very peculiar overtakes as well. But it does seem to not be over just yet. 22 minutes left to go, and still far from over for this battle for the third podium step of bronze here. As we can see now, Orlando able to get it with ease, practically, with him not even having to do any sort of contact for it. As we can see now, Tom Week, though, isn't going to make this go too easily, as it's now going to be Orlando versus Tom Week. It's now Fox probably trying to climb back for P5. He's now 7 tenths between him and P5 of Salavenci, but will not be able to get by just yet. Now again, Tom Week just being a bit hesitant going through Abbey there, and that's going to lose him a tiny bit of time. You can just see by how much, I guess, overcorrection he had going through the corner. It's another yellow flag there. I'm not sure who keeps creating these yellow flags, but I'm assuming it was Max RS. He's gone to the pits there. So you can see he has got a lot of damage there as he just spins there, unfortunately, and creates more damage going on to the end of Luffield there. And it's not going to be a race over for Max RS. He has returned to garage, even though the pit was practically in sight for him, and it doesn't seem he will be coming back out anytime soon, as that seems to be the end there for him with 21 minutes left to go. Just the final quarter. Anthony Fox now trying to make his redemption after his unfortunate crash earlier. We do see now him trying to put pressure on Salavenci for position. Now the gap's just gone down to a minimal of 4 tenths. Was 2 tenths earlier. That was not English, and I apologise. My English seems to be absolutely terrible here today. As well as David Cook behind him in that Bentley Continental number 38. Unfortunately, going a bit wide there. That seems to be Salavenci, but now is this going to be an Anthony Fox versus David Cook, or is this going to be an Anthony Fox versus Salavenci? Him being in the middle of this is going to be perfect for David Cook to try and get this move done, and potentially even try to get Salavenci's move done. But this is also going to be practically perfect for Salavenci. If they both battle too hard, it's going to create a gap between P5 and 6, and with 90 minutes left to go, who knows if he can actually create that gap back. Why is Greg even driving here? He's smurfing so hard. Brilliant question, to be honest. Ask him. To be fair, I'm pretty sure Dabrowski is also quite a fast driver, as well as Orlando. Both, well, all three of them being in the 58s, which technically a 58, would you class that as a rookie time? Obviously, it's not the fastest times we've ever seen, but it's still, I wouldn't say class as rookie times. I feel like, I guess you could say the word rookie has been quite, and I'm not just blaming it on PLR at all, because I've done quite a few rookie lead commentary, but the word rookie seems to have been a bit exploited, I guess you could say, because I've seen in, obviously not just FRR, I'm going to put that as a disclaimer, but other leagues as well, rookies being classed as people doing 47s at Monza, etc, etc. It's like, again, it just feels, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Obviously, it's not my decision at the end of the day. But Greg Ellis is still being a good job, as well as Dabrowski and Orlando. I feel like one thing that would make racing a bit more interesting in general is success penalties, and I've seen it before. I think so then. I assume you're you were racing in the writer last year, I believe. I'm assuming you're it. Otherwise, you're another Vink. But a 58 there almost. Pro times. I'll happily class myself as a pro at that rate. But I'm definitely no pro, so I'm not sure if 58 I think is on the cusp of being quite a good time, as we can see side by side here going into Wellington straight. It's going to be now Luffield. Chance to see who gets this position, as we do see David Cook having the inside line. It's going to be a significant advantage for him. Oh yeah, that was Vil. Oh my days, I'm sorry, I'm going absolutely insane. You were in the test Aston. Yeah, sorry. My brain's going to be insane today, it seems. I've been up for way too long and I'm sick. So those are my excuses out the way once again. Yeah, I think weren't you the test livery? I'm not sure. You practically ran that test livery for 2 seasons consecutively. So we now see David Cook was able to get by here, as well as Tom Weeks actually starting to lose time to Orlando. So I'm assuming Orlando's put his pedal to the metal a tiny bit to try and create that breathing space. With 60 minutes left to go. It's starting to settle down once again, but Anthony Fox still wanting to try retaliate to get this position done. Looks for the inside line going into Stowe, doesn't work for him. David Cook trying to create some sort of gap as quickly as he can, which he seems to be doing, but it's still not going to be anywhere near close enough for him to retaliate once again. There's 15 minutes left to go. Anything can happen. We have seen that statement being made true earlier into this race. Still not going to go side by side. Anthony Fox once again trying to retaliate to get his move done. So actually they seem to be very, very similar paced, it seems. But with Anthony Fox's damage, he is definitely limiting his pace at the moment. So that is probably why he is struggling. Well, definitely why he's struggling so much in pace compared to what he was. That's still my livery. I called it test because I was testing if it worked. So when I did, I didn't change the name. That works. It was easy for me to remember. Easy English words, you see. Big one for me at the end of the day. Does seem, even though we're now, what, 45 minutes into this race, people are still improving their timeshare. Everyone's still in, like, the positive green delta, to be fair. One being Tom Week, who's nearly a 10th up in the Smith's best lap time. Nearly on the cusp of a 58 in race pace. Yeah, with worn tyres like this, it is quite impressive to say the least. But obviously tyres can last up to about 3 hours, I guess you could say. Before they're definitely pretty much shot. think now one thing we are definitely starting to see is a drop off in battles, but that's obviously okay. That's obviously just natural, to be honest. It is something that happens in most leagues, and that is just natural. If you do, like, obviously hear me being quiet for a tiny bit, I am trying to preserve my voice a tiny bit, because my voice, if you haven't heard in probably the past 50 minutes, it is definitely on the ropes. So hopefully I can recover it for World Tour on Monday, which is actually going to be my next commentary session, because I have been pretty chilled out during most of May. I was originally casting, I believe, like 6 days a week, but now I've gone down to about 3 or 4, which is still quite crazy, to be honest. But most of them are actually quite good ones, so that's why I keep doing them. PLR obviously being one of them. I have the opportunity to be doing TTUK esports, the official one on R Factor, with the legendary commentator Chris Buxton. I do that every fortnight Wednesday, one being last week, as well as I have probably the biggest announcement that I'll ever make commentary wise, I believe, at the end of this week. So that is one thing that I'll hopefully be sharing if it all goes ahead. Obviously, we did see as well a few of the drivers in general chat earlier making a few announcements of themselves. Dean Zunobovic, who is in obviously the World Tour, very, very fast driver, got an offer from a team that I think is now the substitute of Unicorns of Love. Unicorns of Love were an esports team that unfortunately folded just a few weeks ago, prior to SRO Esports. I believe it's because of a funding issue is why they went under, but it's definitely unfortunate because I absolutely loved that team, because they had probably one of my favorite liveries. As well as that, we did see I believe actually I'm just going to read them out, because I don't want to be making assumptions instead of being able to know how to do it. As I do see in chat, I do like if Trizoldi's still here, I've just seen your message in general chat. Absolutely legendary way of doing it. Hopefully you don't catch my sickness though, and you actually enjoy your beer in peace. But it does seem, yeah, so Dean, if I can see correctly, actually no, where has it gone? I think it's going to be ACC chat, I guess. You know, actually it's going to be off topic, I assume. Oh, actually, you know, it doesn't matter. But obviously, Dean joining the team, so very big congratulations to him. Definitely deserves it, though. Definitely one of the fastest drivers in PLR. Obviously, Siata being already an LFM driver, obviously also deserves that he's alien fast, as well as a few of the other drivers. Most of the PLR guys are pretty quick, to say the least. Probably hence the name why it's called Pro League Racing. But obviously, the Rookies Championship trying to be a bit more inclusive with it. World Tour obviously open to all oh my days, my brain's going, all pace options, obviously, as usual, and that's why we do see the split qualifying. You don't see it here in this league because it's more of a it's probably less of the chilled, it's probably more, sorry, probably more of the chilled league, to say the least. Do you see that was because that was very, very violent there from Vladimir, just swerving into car to the left at very, very high speeds. Could have went catastrophically there for himself, but luckily both of them do survive there. As Vladimir now under pressure for once instead of being the one putting pressure on. So also now David Cook now trying to get P5 on the last second as he goes side by side here, going into Abbey on Salavenci. He does keep it. It's going to be a bit of a squeeze between them both now. We do Salavenci still being able to keep the move, but then we do go once again side by side. Is he going to make a lunge going into the farmer's curve? Yes, he does, but it's not going to be able to work though, going into the loop for one of the final times as well. Once again, not going to be able to work for himself and stays behind Salavenci for another few corners, to say the least. Does seem to be a lot quicker than Salavenci, but he isn't able to get past because Salavenci's defense system seems to be pretty strong. Now going into left field, taking the inside line, but does go a tiny bit wide, or want to try and get the inside line as quickly as he can, going into the last part of left field now as well, going onto Woodcott. to go on to potentially the penultimate lap, depending on where the leader is on. Actually, no, it's going to be the third last lap here. As well as that, Wood Tour Season 3 obviously starting on Monday. Obviously get signed up for that. I believe there is still spaces available. So if you're not signed up for that, please get signed up. Because actually, I'm not sure. Obviously, Greg could probably correct this later. But I'm not sure if you have to do the evaluation races. Oh my days, I'm so sorry. To actually participate. But there were free eval races. Well, in the past 3 weeks. But obviously, now it has succeeded the 3 weeks, and we have gone on to round 1, which will be on Monday next week. So if you can sign up to that, definitely sign up to it. Definitely worth it. One of the best leagues. PLR runs on the main league as well, I believe, going on to their 3rd season of it. Now 4 minutes left to go. Seems again one of the battles have died off again, but they do seem to keep being quite dormant and do become active after a while. But one of them being Anthony Fox, trying to make his redemption after his unfortunate incident previous laps ago. But we do now see it's going to be a second between him and Salavenci. But is gaining quite a bit of time there going through the exit of Beckett's. Two minutes left to go now. Anthony Fox actually gaining a significant amount of time there until Salavenci for P6. Now down to 3 attempts going into Stereo for the penultimate time here. It does seem he's not going to be able to get past just yet. He gains a lot of time though going onto the exit of Stereo, so he might be able to try and make a move going into the chicane. But as it stands, he is just going to have to wait and try it again as soon as he can, because now it's going to be him becoming a bit more impatient. This is where we'll start seeing the most silly mistakes starting to occur, because he's just got to be impatient and wants to try and get this move done as quickly as he can, but also you want to be able to do it as safely as you can as well. Minute and 35 left. Now I do see Anthony Fox, sorry. Now actually losing a tiny bit of time to Salavenci. We'll find out what happens as we do here. The leader is now on the final lap, as Greg Ellis has now started it. As we will go on board with him later, as we do see now trying to go for the inside line to get this move done. Is he going to be able to do it successfully, or has he just made a bit of a mistake? He has made a mistake there. Fortunately, braking mid-corner there. Was so close to success then to keep that position, but now he's unfortunately lost all of that time. Unless we see Salavenci make a mistake in the M4R Squadra Corsair livery, which I doubt we will see. There is going to be no sort of redemption here from Anthony Fox once again, but Mike Waller, a driver again we've seen quite a few times, as well as Vladimir, the two drivers in two different ways. Mike being really good at defending and Vladimir being really good at attacking, but now it seems the turns have tabled. I know I've said that the wrong way around. I've done that on purpose, by the way, before people start attacking me. But that is now going to be the opposite now, as we do see now Mike Waller actually going a bit aggressive here on Vladimir to try and get this position done and dusted before the end of the race. P10 being quite a universal goal for a lot of these drivers, as well as now Anthony Fox gaining a lot of time on Salavenci here. Can he get this move done once again? Now just having just less than 2 seconds to do this move, it is going to be interesting to say the least, as we can actually see as well Aston Martin in the background, but that is going to be I believe it's going to be Deary or Estevez in that Aston Martin, so it's not going to be anyone for them to worry about, to say the least. But definitely carrying quite a bit of pace here as they go side by side here, go into the farmer's curve now, gets the inside line. Anthony Fox, has he got the move done once and for all? We do see now it's going to be very bad here for Salavenci if he has done. In fact, it looks like he has. Unless we see Salavenci make any sort of retaliation going into the final 2 corners, this is going to be Anthony Fox's place, and he is definitely going to be very happy with himself getting that position done. But it's not over yet. We still have 2 corners left to go here as we do go into Luffield for the final time. It is going to be him. In fact, I believe he's going to have this position now. Just having to have the exit of this corner. We have seen Max RS make the mistake there. Will these drivers do? No, they don't. They make it into the same grid order as we do see now. Anthony Fox taking P6 and Salavenci taking P7 there. Greg Ellis taking P1. They're doing donuts there in the PLR Esports. Bentley Continental, very well done for him there for winning the race, as well as Dabrowski in the Ford Mustang, while the Polish Eagle Hunters taking P2, as well as then we do see, pardon me, Angelo Orlando in the M4R Squadra Corsair livery in P3, followed then by Tom Week, and it's going to be David Kirk, as well as Anthony Fox, Salavenci, who we were just spectating earlier, as well as Briscoe, and then Enrico Itri, followed then by Vladimir running at the top 10, as well as Mike Waller in P11, as well as Ricardo Colombo, and then it's going to be the last person to cross the line, but he is going to be in P14, I believe, P13, sorry, is going to be Martina crossing the line as we speak, and it's also going to be then as well James Terry taking P14, as well as Deary taking P15, Court, Estevez, and then we do see Grisella as well. He's just doing Luffield for the final time, I believe. Not sure what happened there. He has a lot of damage. That's what's happened there. I'm not sure what's happened there, but he is definitely going to be struggling a lot, to say the least. I'm not actually sure how is oh my god, just looking at how bad his steering inputs are there, we can see practically 180 degrees to try and keep the car in a straight line, so he's going to have no right angled steering at all. But that is going to be here's tonight's race. I do apologize once again. It's definitely been more and more messy at streams. I'm severely sleep deprived, it almost seems like, as well as I'm sick. But Greg in chat, thanks for the stream. No worries, mate. Pleasure to do it. As well as that, I'll be back for World Tour Season 3 on Monday, as well as I'll, well, hopefully doing the rookie stream finale on Thursday. And I think that's it. I am doing TCUK Esports as well, being one of my biggest commentary offers on the Wednesday as well. But apart from that, I will see you all then. Have a great rest of your evening.